Let's talk about paraphony. So essentially, the matriarch is polyphonic, meaning you can play up to 4 notes simultaneously. And that is because there are 4 oscillators, and each note gets assigned an oscillator. That is if the paraphony is set to 4 over here. If it's set to 1, it becomes a monophonic synth, so all 4 oscillators are producing that one single note. There's also a duo mode, so I can play up to 2 notes, and each note gets 2 oscillators each. And just like in the 4-note paraphony, if I add an additional note, it'll kill the oldest voice. Alright, let's go back to 4-note paraphony. Now, one thing we need to understand is that even though we have up to 4 notes of polyphony, everything else stays the same. Meaning we still have this one filter section for all the 4 voices, one envelope section for all the 4 voices, and one VCA section for all the 4 voices. Same for the modulation section. So you just get one articulation for all the notes. This would be the one major difference between a paraphonic synth and a true polyphonic synth. Now there is a paraphonic unison mode on the matriarch. Let's see what that entails. Right now I'm in paraphonic 4-note mode. So when I play one note, that first oscillator gets assigned to that one note. If I add a second one, the second oscillator is heard. You will notice when I change the octave, you can hear the change in the sound. Third note, third oscillator. Let's change up the timbre on the third one as well as the pitch. And the fourth note will take the fourth oscillator. Alright, so we already know this. That's the regular paraphonic mode where all the oscillators get spread out to the different notes. But in paraphonic unison mode, it works slightly differently. Let me first show you how to enable this feature. We need to access the global settings for this. So I'll hold down hold and tap and hold the sync button. Once it starts blinking, we know we're in this global settings mode. And now we can access different settings by tapping different black keys. So I'll tap this G sharp 2 note here to go into the specific category that I'm looking for. And then I'm going to tap this F sharp 0 to access this unison paraphony mode. By default, it's off, and pressing C0 would turn it off, and pressing D0 here will turn it on. Alright, I'll get out of the global mode by tapping the sync enable button. So now, when I play one note, we're hearing all 4 oscillators produce that one note, even though we're in 4-note paraphony. But if I add a second note, the voices start to thin out. So 2 oscillators are assigned to that first note, and the next 2 oscillators to the second note. If I add a third note and a fourth, now we have 4 separate oscillators producing the 4 separate notes. So it's like a dynamic voice allocation feature, depending on the number of notes you play. So you would have noticed that the sound thins out as I played in additional notes. Let's go back into the global settings and turn it off. So G sharp 2 here, and then F sharp 0 here, and I'll hit C0 here to turn that feature off. Alright, let's get out of global settings. And now we do not have this paraphonic unison feature. Cool. There's one more thing I want to show you related to voicings, and that is the round robin feature. Now by default, when I play a note, the synth always uses the first oscillator, and subsequent notes will use a second oscillator, and so on. Now we can change this functionality. Let's go back into the global settings. This time I'll hit G sharp 2 and then D sharp 0 here. Now we have 3 options for this round robin feature. C0 will turn it off completely. With D0, we do get this round robin feature, but it always resets on the first note played. And then there's E0 where we get full round robin. So let's try the full round robin mode. Let's get out of global settings. Now you'll notice every time I play the same note, we're hearing a different oscillator. So it's cycling through the different oscillators depending on what note I press. Same for chords. So this is a pretty cool effect. Let's try this with the arpeggiator. So even though I'm just playing one note, we're cycling through all 4 oscillators now. Pretty interesting and also very unique to paraphonic synths. Alright, I'm going to go back into the global settings and set that feature back to the default. So G sharp 2 here, and then D sharp 0 here. And I'll hit D0 here to reset it to the default setting. So in this default setting, we still have the round robin feature, but the first note played will always get the first oscillator. In other words, it always resets to the first oscillator on a new note press after releasing all previous notes. But we're still getting that round robin cycling feature. Alright, so that's a little bit about all the paraphony related features on the Matriarch. In the next tutorial, we will take a look at the oscillator section.